It was the 8th year I had loved Kevin, and he still refused to acknowledge me as his fiancé. He canceled my red carpet appearance just to please his little canary. In front of the media, with the same lips that had kissed me 1,000 times, he said we were just friends. Later, I told him seriously, "Don't hide. That's not how ordinary friends behave." His eyes turned slightly red. His voice trembled. "I'm your ordinary friend?" Chapter 1. When I was told to leave the red carpet, I was still interacting with fans. My fingers froze above the keyboard as I stared at my agent, Misty, in disbelief. "Why?" She sighed and gently rubbed my wrist in a comforting gesture. "Because she's got connections. I heard she's Kevin's little girlfriend." My fingers curled with unease. Kevin was my fiancé. I had loved him for 8 whole years. Even his notoriously difficult mother had accepted me. But to him, I still had no name, no title. Not even Misty knew about us. When I saw Juliet walking in arm with Kevin, I felt like I was suffocating, like I was dying right there. I knew Kevin had a childhood friend who was close with his whole group. A real golden girl among them. She went abroad back in high school. But even during dinners with Kevin's friends, someone would always bring her up. I opened one of Kevin's friends' WeChat, snapped a photo of him and Juliet, and sent it over. "Is this the girl you mentioned before?" The other person seemed nervous. The typing indicator hung at the top of the screen for 5 whole minutes before the reply came. "Yeah, that's her. I didn't mean anything by it when I mentioned her. Maybe Kevin just didn't want to tire you out, so he didn't ask you to come. Don't overthink it. Sis, want me to talk to him for you?" I pressed my lips together and replied, "Thanks. No need. I already asked. It's nothing." Ending the conversation simply, I looked ahead at the 2 people seated in the front row. If Kevin just turned around, he would see me, his abandoned fiancé, the one whose red carpet walk was taken away with a single sentence. But he didn't spare me a glance. On stage, the host smiled while holding the cue cards. The nominees for Best Supporting Actress this year are. Clips of the nominees played across the big screen, me, Juliet, and 2 other actresses. Nervously, I clutched Misty's hand. She gave me a sidelong glance and whispered in my ear, "Don't get your hopes up. It's rigged. Juliet's getting it. We're drowning in politics now." My heart dropped. The moment her words ended, the big screen lit up with one name, Juliet. Even the hosts, seasoned pros, couldn't hide their momentary surprise. Juliet glanced around in disbelief, until the man next to her leaned in and said something. I could lip read, "Why aren't you going up there?" The next line, "Didn't you really want this award?" He had asked me the same thing many times. "Don't you really want this award?" I always said I'd work hard for it. Kevin always smiled and said, "Okay, I'll wait for you. Do your best." But he didn't wait. As Juliet stood up, the camera swept across the man beside her, Kevin. He clapped calmly, as if nothing was wrong. The whispers in the hall quieted down. He was shielding her. Chapter 2. I didn't even know what kind of expression to wear. My brief moment of losing composure had already made it to the trending topics. Hashtag Juliet wins Best Supporting Actress. Hashtag Jessica's expression. When I tapped into the live trending section, the comments were a mess. Some fans are hilarious, hyping up their idol like crazy before the awards announced. And the moment she doesn't win, suddenly it's all rigged. What? Your queen didn't want the award? Honestly can't deal. Told her fans she'd be on the red carpet. But she never showed. And now she's sitting there looking like the Walking Dead when someone else wins. She worked hard for so long. Isn't it okay for her to feel upset? Don't be so harsh. She didn't offend anyone. Y'all know how Juliet got that award. And Jessica's acting skills speak for themselves. Don't make me laugh. Yeah, sure. Juliet's just that good. Even Coup Corporation CEO cooks soup for her on set. Follows her around like a puppy, not like a certain someone who doesn't even deserve to carry her shoes. Juliet deserves to marry into wealth straight up. Jessica could never reach her level in this lifetime. I stared at those comments until my eyes started to burn. It felt like something inside me was crumbling, piece by piece. I searched for videos of Kevin and Juliet together. September 23rd, Juliet was filming, and Kevin stayed by her side the entire time. September 23rd, I sent him 5 messages, not a single reply. The next day, Kevin finally texted back. Was busy yesterday. August 17th, Kevin brought Juliet soup in a thermal flask. I had spent 2 months learning how to make that soup, burned my hands who knows how many times, tasted it over and over again, poured all my love into that one pot. I'd been so nervous. He said, "It tastes great," and I was happy the entire day. Turns out he gave it to Juliet. If he had just told me, I wouldn't have gotten my hopes up like that. July 25th, the two were spotted together on a trip. That same day, Kevin gave me a bracelet. I clutched my wrist tighter, the cold metal pressing into my palm. The pain kept the tears at bay. Misty frowned as she looked at me, then suddenly said, "Smile, don't wear that face. It's just one award. No big deal. Life's long, you'll have more chances." I forced a smile through my teary eyes. Misty was startled by the glint of tears in them. She quickly raised her hand to cover my eyes, her voice gentle. "It's okay, you're still young. Today isn't the end of your story." Misty arranged for someone to take me home. I sat in the car, watching the world blur past the window, unable to stop my thoughts from drifting to the past few years. I'd had a crush on Kevin for years, but he didn't know. All he remembered was that we first met in college. "So you went to a city high too? What a coincidence." Yeah, what a coincidence. For that brief conversation, I had spent 3 years of my life, over 1,000 days and nights, just to make it happen. But I was still just one of many younger girls to him. I engineered countless coincidences just to barely become his friend. After graduation, he took over the family business. I, on the other hand, stubbornly entered the entertainment industry. We met again at a business dinner. He was the investor. I was the third female lead. "Long time no see. Why'd you become an actress?" "Because I love it." At the wrap party, I found Kevin smoking alone. There was a door between us. On the other side was the sound of cheers and celebration. On this side, it was just him. "Aren't you happy?" I asked. One hand was resting on the railing. He looked laid back. When he turned his face toward me, he casually stubbed out the cigarette. Then he asked me, "Jessica, do you like me?" Liking someone is like a cough, you can't hide it. I fell silent in an instant. In that awkward silence, his gaze, hot and heavy, swept across my face and body. Then he chuckled. "Honestly, Junior," he said, using that nickname that instantly pulled me back to those bitter teenage years, "you're not really my type." The boy I'd been chasing for all of my youth was standing right in front of me, telling me, with a voice that was gentle yet cruel, "We're not going to work out." "Oh," I said. I blinked rapidly, holding back my tears. Chapter 3. Kevin wasn't home when I got back. I stood in the living room with the lights on, my eyes slowly sweeping across the space. This was just one of his countless properties, but I stubbornly called it home. I used to love sitting on that sofa, waiting for Kevin. That way, I could greet him the moment he walked in. But he once said I was too clingy. The door suddenly opened. Kevin bent down to pull out a pair of slippers. His brows furrowed. His eyes landed on my bare feet. "Why are you walking barefoot again? Where did you go?" I didn't rush over to hug him like I used to, or tiptoe to kiss his chin, whispering sticky sweet words about how much I missed him. Kevin narrowed his eyes slightly. He seemed a little displeased and strode over to scoop me up in his arms. "The floor is cold." Looking down at me, he smiled and said, "Upset?" "I didn't ignore your messages on purpose. I was just busy today." I pulled away from his arms, unable to hold back a self-deprecating laugh. He didn't even realize I was at the same event as him tonight, the one where Juliet replaced me. Kevin looked at me in confusion, his tone indifferent. "I've been spoiling you too much lately." He wearily pinched the bridge of his nose. Looking at him, my heart ached with a dull throb. A door that was never meant for me, knocking on it again would be inappropriate. Kevin, a name I had called countless times. From today on, it had nothing to do with me. "The engagement is off. You're free now." Kevin froze, his gaze turning icy. He didn't even realize how ugly his expression had become. Word by word, like he was grinding his teeth, he said, "What did you say?" I rarely get angry. Intense emotions tend to cloud my judgment. But at that moment, I couldn't help but feel a flicker of anger. "I said you're free now. Don't you understand?" I've always considered my relationship with Kevin to be decent. As much as I liked him, I never clung or begged. Before dating, the time I spent around him was mostly during college. Even back then, I was careful when trying to run into him by chance, making sure not to cause him any discomfort. So I saw this relationship as something I wanted, something I pursued, and eventually got. No matter what, it should never have reached the point of resentment. Kevin didn't speak. His eyes lingered on my face for a long time. After a while, he suddenly chuckled. "Jessica, you're not thinking clearly right now. Let's talk again when you've calmed down." He pulled his coat off the back of the chair. I stood there in silence as his footsteps faded away, leaving an eerie stillness behind. The night seemed to flow in silence, a deathly quiet that wrapped around me like a shroud. Suddenly, I felt nauseous. He was pulling this again. Just when I was on the verge of breaking down, he casually threw out a calm down, and that allowed him to stay clean and detached. I used to be obsessed with this about Kevin, his effortless composure, always carrying himself like a refined gentleman, as if there was nothing he couldn't handle. No matter who sat at the table, he always played by his own rules. In the end, after all these years, I meant nothing to him. Maybe I never even qualified to sit at the same table. I took a moment to steady myself, forcing calm. I washed up on autopilot, but I couldn't fall asleep. I felt like a dried-out sponge, drained of any ability to think. Around 4 a.m., my phone rang. I rushed over to check. Desperate, as if trying to prove something, Misty's name flashed on the screen, not Kevin's. I tried my best to sound normal, speaking loudly to cover up the hollow in my voice. "It's so late, what's going on?" "You and Kevin were seen together at multiple locations on the same day." Quite the coincidence. I gripped the phone tighter. There had been rumors before, but Misty never asked questions. She'd quickly issue a denial and move on. This time, something felt off. My heart sank. Just have the team clear it up. Why call me about it? There was noise on her end. She was clearly still busy. "It's getting out of control. Juliet's camp is stirring up the public. The company account and your personal socials are being bombarded. Try to calm your fans down." I agreed, and Misty quickly hung up, probably to find a solution. I logged onto Instagram. The flood of notifications froze my phone for several seconds. The comments on my latest post had turned from compliments to vicious insults. "Trying to be the side chick? Pathetic. Too bad Kevin doesn't even want you. Jealous much seeing how sweet he is to Juliet. If only your acting was half as good as your scheming. No one even wants you, not even for free. You made Juliet so heartbroken. You deserve to rot." Chapter 4. I stared blankly at my screen, typing Juliet's name into the search bar. Juliet V. Feeling heartbroken. "I watched your interviews before returning to the country and thought I could learn something from you. Never imagined your character would be so poor. Why did you have to do this? How can someone be so awful? I don't understand." I cried all night. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't know how to carry on. I really treasure what we have, truly. The accompanying photo was a small, cute cake and 2 cups of milk tea. If you zoomed in, you could even see a man's hand, accidentally captured in the frame. It didn't take long for netizens to identify the watch on that hand. It was the one Kevin had been wearing these past couple of days. Add to that the paparazzi photos of Kevin and me appearing at multiple locations on the same day, and the narrative quickly turned into accusations of me maliciously chasing him around. All of this aligned perfectly with the vague innuendos in Juliet's Instagram post. Furious fans and righteous strangers alike swarmed my Instagram to vent their outrage. The more vicious their insults toward me, the more genuine their blessings for Juliet and Kevin seemed. And yet, I was the one who was actually engaged to Kevin, but I never received any real congratulations. It all made sense in hindsight, the moment he left that place. He rushed to see Juliet. He never attended any formal events with me, yet proudly made public appearances with her. To help her win an award, he resorted to methods he used to look down on. No matter how you looked at it, Juliet seemed far more like his real girlfriend than I ever did. I let out a laugh, bitter. Inevitably, after soothing the fans, I turned off my phone. Some people would believe the truth, others never would. It all depended on Kevin's response now. But deep down, I knew Kevin wouldn't respond, and he definitely wouldn't step up to clear my name. Still, I hoped, desperately, that just this once, he would take my side. I already felt like I was walking a tightrope, stepping into the arena completely unprepared. I knew I would fall, but I still hoped I could buy just a little more time before the fall. Isn't unrequited love just another form of walking a tightrope? But I'd already walked so far, I couldn't help but feel a bit unwilling to let go. I stayed up all night, watching the clock tick until morning. After a quick wash-up, I got into the car that came to pick me up, throwing myself into work in an attempt to numb everything else. Kevin Koo remained silent. The wave of online abuse against me went on for days without end. When I said the innocent need no defense, no one believed me. Instead, they posted a list of 18 questions demanding answers. How was I supposed to answer them? Tell them Kevin is the man I share a bed with? He wouldn't admit it. If I didn't reach out to Kevin, he wouldn't contact me either. Instead, it was Mrs. Koo who called. I heard there's a lot of nonsense online. Don't believe any of it. No matter how much of a jerk Kevin is, he'd never cheat. I'll have him apologize to you later, okay? Jessica, are you doing all right these days? I lowered my eyes and replied, not really. She fell silent for a moment, caught off guard by my honesty. Then she finally said, Jessica, you're a good girl. If you were my daughter, I wouldn't want you to be with Kevin. At first, I really didn't like you, but over the years, I've seen how good you've been to Kevin. Still, he's my son. As a mother, of course I want you two to work out. I leaned against the doorway, watching the set crew busily moving around. My scenes hadn't started yet. The actress playing the schoolgirl smiled at the male lead, bumping his shoulder playfully. He pretended to be annoyed, a smile still in his eyes. Kevin and I never had memories like that. I didn't respond. Mrs. Koo called my name again. I pulled my gaze back. Ma'am, maybe it's just not meant to be between us. I used to think that if I just kept proving how much I loved him, if I could make him feel it, he'd love me back. But that's not how it works. Is it? Kevin only got engaged to me because you approved. It could have been anyone, and yet I truly believed he had, even for a moment, seen me differently. It took only a heartbeat for me to fall in love with Kevin, but I spent 8 whole years chasing after him. Somewhere along the way, I couldn't tell whether I still loved him that much, or if I just couldn't accept losing. Maybe it was both. In this relationship that was never really equal, Kevin had never crossed the line with another woman, so I kept believing one day he'd respond. But now, he'd shattered that ridiculous hope of mine. I couldn't go on like this. If I did, I wouldn't be Jessica anymore. Chapter 5. I saw Kevin again 1 week later. He appeared with Juliet and me on the same talk show. I could tell he was impatient, barely holding up his polite facade. Yet somehow, no one at the studio seemed to notice. After I took my seat, Kevin's gaze swept over me calmly, like I was a stranger. I clenched my wrist. Beneath my palm, the bracelet's cold metal pressed against my skin. Kevin had been generous with me, showering me with gifts. But this bracelet was different. It was what he gave me on our dating anniversary. I had been so overjoyed back then, and now, the deeper that joy once ran, the more pathetic I felt. I thought he remembered that special day. I thought the bracelet was his awkward way of returning my affection. But it was just coincidence. Coincidence that Juliet wanted to go shopping that day, and Kevin was with her. Maybe he thought of me for a second, picked something up without thinking, and I, foolishly, imagined it meant he loved me. Once I've completely let go, I'll take off this bracelet. That day is coming soon. The show didn't give me much screen time. All I had to do was smile, say a few things here and there. Juliet, while chatting with the host, suddenly turned the conversation toward me. By the way, I'm so sorry Jessica had to take all that hate because of me. Really, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking clearly that day. I opened my mouth, but couldn't bring myself to say it's okay. Sensing the awkward silence, the host quickly jumped in with a smile. I knew it was all just a misunderstanding. Why don't we ask Mr. Koo to clear the air? What's your relationship with Jessica? He tossed the question to Kevin with a grin. On the surface, it was to help me and Juliet make peace. But in reality, he was handing the narrative to the one with the most power in the room. Kevin looked up at me. My hand tightened its grip. He smiled faintly, though his eyes were utterly expressionless. That look always a sign he was about to do something cruel. Kevin stared at my face. His tone casual, almost amused. Jessica and I were classmates. Now, at best, just acquaintances. At best, just acquaintances. I had mentally prepared myself, but hearing it still sent a wave of crushing disappointment through me. I heard a tiny thud. Finally, I'd fallen off the tightrope. Exactly as expected. In front of the camera, I struggled to keep up my polite smile. My hand fumbled for the bracelet, trying to unclasp it, but the clasp was tricky, and my mind was a mess. I tried several times but couldn't get it off. My fingertips were turning red. The male guest sitting next to me noticed. He seemed a little concerned and offered, "Can't get it off? Here, let me help." I hesitated, but eventually held out my hand. I didn't notice the sudden darkness clouding Kevin's face on the other side. After the recording, I posted something on Instagram. Every Thursday, I post once, something I've done without fail for years. It's a promise to my fans. I waited a few minutes, refreshed the comments. Alongside the familiar fans, there were also plenty of harsh voices. That couple was kind enough to spare your dignity. Don't go doing things that make people misunderstand. Kevin and Juliet are a perfect match. You never were. Did you see how disgusted Koo looked at you? Take the hint and just focus on your acting. Homewrecker. Homewrecker. Please stop ruining other people's love lives. I'll get on my knees if that's what it takes. I gently stroked the bracelet in my hand, just as I had so many times before. Love can make even plain water satisfying. I used to think this bracelet was so beautiful. Now it looked average at best. Just average. Maybe Kevin only ever looked good because I loved him. Once I stripped away the rose-tinted filter I'd painted over him, he lost all his charm. I was going to throw the bracelet into the trash. But after a moment, I didn't. Instead, I listed it on a second-hand site. Let it have one last use. Ding. A notification. After all these days of silence, Kevin finally sent a message. "If you don't come back now, don't ever come back again." I'd moved out of his place quite a while ago. This was the only message he'd sent me. I stared at it for a moment, then replied, "I'll be right there." He didn't respond again. Chapter 6. When I returned to Kevin's place, he was sitting on the couch, staring at me expressionlessly. "Jessica, you've really grown some guts. That temper of yours." "Huh? You didn't come back because you were waiting for me to beg you?" He clicked his tongue impatiently, the corner of his mouth lifting into a smirk that carried a mocking edge. "Didn't I tell you, I'm not the kind of guy who coaxes people?" At that moment, I realized with absolute clarity, he never loved me, not once. And suddenly, I felt really sad. I love myself. I believe in myself. But for Kevin, I had bent over backward, again and again, constantly telling myself I just wasn't good enough. But the truth is, if someone doesn't love you, that's all there is to it. Not good enough is just an excuse. I didn't think that way. I came to pack up my things and leave. Everything I said that day, I meant it. It wasn't out of spite. Kevin cracked his knuckles, his usual gesture when trying to stay patient. "Jessica, stop making a scene. I'm not going to forgive you a second time." Almost as if trying to emphasize it, he repeated, "There won't be a second time." His tone was soft. Kevin's eyes were a pale color, and under the lights, his face looked cold, emotionless. Last year, I'd brought up breaking up once, over something trivial, so small I can't even remember what sparked the argument. Kevin didn't understand why. He tried to talk me out of it, but when I didn't budge, he snapped and told me never to show up again. As soon as I was out of his sight, the tears wouldn't stop. I didn't work for an entire month, just sat around staring into space, shutting everyone out. Even during the day, I kept the curtains closed, only occasionally glancing out the window. My mind was foggy, and any little thing could make my eyes well up. Later, Mrs. Koo made Kevin come apologize. She told me, "Kevin was distracted all day. The moment I told him to go find you, he rushed right over. Don't stay angry, being together is never easy." That "never easy" was her way of smoothing things over. Spoken lightly, but I knew just how much I had given up to be with Kevin. Falling for someone really only takes a second. Kevin was a grade above me in high school, From the day I entered that school, I'd heard all about his legend. As a top math competition student, he'd already secured a spot at a prestigious university. The day Kevin came back to give a speech at our school, I was sitting in the audience, watching him. He stood there, radiating an unrestrained, youthful confidence. Amid the crowd's excitement, I thought to myself, I want to become someone like that. The second time we met, I was sitting on the steps, crying because I couldn't solve a problem. That old, rundown building was usually empty, except for special events. No one went there. Kevin came upstairs, surprised to see me. I didn't think anyone would be in such a remote place, he said. Then, realizing my tears, he offered a slightly awkward, "Sorry." I didn't respond, just kept staring at the workbook on my knees. Kevin followed my gaze and seemed to understand. He said just 2 sentences, but his voice was sincere. He said, "Hard work always pays off. And, keep going, Junior." I've remembered those words ever since. I remember the color of the peeling stains on the building walls. I remember the ivy climbing along the outer bricks. But I didn't know that the person standing in front of me would make my heart skip like that. Later, I found out that problem I couldn't solve had 4 different solutions. But even now, I still don't know, what could I have done to make Kevin love me? After Kevin took me back, neither of us brought up the subject again. Maybe deep down, I already knew we wouldn't last. But I was too stubborn to accept it. I looked at the person in front of me, and that memory from that afternoon slowly overlapped with the man before me. That day, the wind rustled the ivy leaves, making a soft whispering sound. I pretended not to care and stole a glance at him. He didn't know it then, and he doesn't know now. In that brief moment when I looked up, I had fallen for him for 8 whole years. And in another fleeting glance, I finally admitted I shouldn't have stolen that look. I said, "We're over. Please let your mom know." A dead silence fell. Kevin's face darkened. Seeing that I wasn't backing down, fury welled up in his eyes. His fists clenched tightly. He looked down at me, voice flat. "Think this through. If you walk out that door, we're done, completely." I nodded. Not many people knew we were ever together. I won't go around telling anyone. I didn't have much to take. It didn't take long to pack. I didn't look back when I left. Behind me, I heard a heavy thud. 8 years ago, I stole a glance at him. 8 years later, today, it finally ended. Chapter 7. Perhaps Kevin was displeased that I was the one who ended things first. My career took a severe hit. A lot of roles that had originally been mine were suddenly handed over to Juliet. Misty quickly noticed something was off. She asked, "Did you say something you shouldn't have? Did you offend Juliet?" Before I could answer, she added, "I told you before, she's got serious backing. You really shouldn't have provoked her." I flipped through the script she handed me. Its quality was noticeably worse than before. Many of them weren't even proper productions, just low-budget web dramas. Misty looked visibly troubled. "You know how it is. It's not like I don't want to help you. Every time we lock in a role, it gets snatched up by Juliet's people. The industry's been avoiding you. Nobody wants to piss off Kevin." I nodded calmly. I'd always known Kevin wasn't some harmless nice guy. How else could he come out on top in the ruthless power games of high society, taking over his father's position at such a young age? Still, it made me feel sick, especially when I thought about how I'd once dated him, how madly I had loved him. It honestly made me want to throw up. Youth makes people blind. But at least I've recovered now. I pointed at one of the slightly better scripts and asked Misty, "This one doesn't look too bad. Can you ask for me?" Misty sighed. "Why put yourself through this? People are saying you pissed off Juliet, and now, it's starting to look like it's true." "Jessica, sometimes, it's okay not to stand so tall," she said, tapping me gently on the waist, hinting that I should lower my head and apologize. "Misty, I know you're looking out for me, but if I didn't do anything wrong, then I won't apologize." I gave her a reassuring smile. "Don't worry about me. Even if I stop acting, I won't starve. And we're not at that point yet. If I have a role, I'll act my best. That's just the kind of person I am." Back in high school, I wanted to be like Kevin, so I studied relentlessly. I wasn't a guaranteed admission student like he was, But I still got into Tsinghua, one of the best in the country. A student my school could proudly show off. After graduation, I wanted to make money, so I started a business, using every available resource and pushing myself to the limit. Even when some guy tried to hit on me with a cheesy line like I made 30 million last year. Want to be my sugar baby? My first response was, how did you make it? Can you teach me? The startup I founded during my freshman year has brought in 7-figure revenue annually since then. When I still wanted to chase Kevin in college, I created opportunities to get close to him. I was never impatient, never reckless. I worked my way from his friends to him. But I didn't neglect my studies. Every semester I ranked first in my major. Later, I joined the entertainment industry. Despite having no background in acting, I seized every audition opportunity, learning on the job. At my busiest, I slept 4 to 5 hours a day, sometimes even dreamt about rehearsing. So even if I quit acting, it wouldn't matter. If I decided to go back to school and do research, I'd do just as well as my classmates. If I decided to sell street food, my stand would sell the most delicious, best-smelling pancakes on the entire block. I work hard. I'm smart. I don't quit. That's why whatever I do it well. Misty eventually landed that script for me. Unfortunately, the role they had promised me, the female lead, was changed the next day to the second female lead. Misty was furious, but I calmed her down and accepted it anyway. As long as I had a role, I still had a chance to prove myself. Doing nothing would only make things worse. Sitting around waiting has never been my way. Even if the lead was Juliet. Though I did find it odd, why would Juliet be interested in a low-budget web series like this? If I wasn't desperate, I wouldn't have taken such a questionable project. As an actress, it's best to keep your record clean. The audience isn't your fan base. Once they get the impression that you're careless with your roles or mediocre in your acting, they won't give you a second chance. On the first day of filming, I saw Kevin. He was standing next to the director, going over the scene with Juliet, hovering around her like a shadow. Misty caught sight of the scene and frowned slightly. Under her breath, she said, "Well, that pretty much confirms the rumors." Instinctively, I followed her gaze and locked eyes with Kevin, who had just looked up. I smiled quietly. Yeah, they actually looked kind of well-matched. The sunlight was hot, and I could feel a burn across my chest, too. I wondered if my younger self from 8 years ago could see me now. Standing here at this dead end, would she regret it? I thought about it carefully. Probably not. Everything I did because I wanted to. If I hadn't done it, I'd have regretted that instead. After I looked away calmly, I noticed Kevin's expression gradually darken. His gaze was cold, piercing. Misty leaned in and asked, "Why do I feel like Kevin seems to hate you even more than he does Juliet?" My fingers paused on the script. Really? Misty gave me a suspicious look, scanning my face. What kind of history could you and he possibly have? Can't blame her. Two outsiders. Kevin and I looked like we came from worlds apart. That's a shame, I joked. Someone as great as me, and he still hates me. Terrible taste. Misty laughed and tapped my head with her knuckle. You. Seriously. Chapter 8. As the wicked second female lead, I had many scenes with the heroine. Whenever Kevin came to pick up Juliet, he inevitably saw me, and every time he did, his expression soured. My reputation within the crew only worsened. People whispered that the rumors on Instagram were true, that Kevin hated even the sight of me. That tense atmosphere lingered until I finished all my scenes. My final scene was a night shoot. By the time it wrapped, it was nearly 3 a.m. I changed out of costume and headed outside. Waiting by the roadside for the car Misty had arranged. Headlights approached. I instinctively turned toward the light. The window rolled halfway down, and a hand holding a cigarette dangled outside. Sometimes, knowing someone too well can be terrifying. With just one glance at that hand, I knew it was Kevin. His narrow eyes squinted slightly, as if assessing me. Just as I was about to turn away, he suddenly spoke. "I'll give you a ride home." No need. Someone's coming to get me. I never thought a day would come when talking to him would leave me completely calm. Like I felt nothing. Kevin seemed agitated. He brought the cigarette to his lips, took 2 drags, and exhaled slowly, his chest rising and falling. Jessica, you're the one who said you liked me. How can you just take your feelings back like it's nothing? Kevin had beautiful eyes, I used to admire them often, but this was the first time I ever saw something like sorrow in them. I kept my voice steady as I answered. Kevin, we broke up. You have a girlfriend now. Loyalty to your girlfriend is the bare minimum. He froze, then his eyes lit up with a kind of desperate brilliance. No, Juliet once saved my grandfather's life. I was just repaying that favor, and it's already repaid. All this time I came to see you. You never once came to me. His lips pressed into a thin line, body leaning forward slightly, as if he were nervous. I didn't know what brought on the sudden shift in him, but to me, it all just felt meaningless. It doesn't matter, my ride is here. He tried to say something more, but I had completely run out of patience. Don't embarrass yourself by following me. My words, cold, final, seemed to cut deep. He flinched visibly. Chapter 9. At the wrap party, everyone was raising their glasses to toast Kevin. I followed the crowd and raised mine too, making sure my glass was slightly lower than his. I had once said that my relationship with Kevin was built on equality, even if his wealth vastly exceeded mine. Even if his status was far above mine. If we were drinking together, my glass should never have to dip below his. I'll stand beside you as an equal one day, openly and proudly. Kevin always smiled at me with the same patronizing expression, like I was some naive kid who didn't understand how things worked. As the alcohol kicked in, his breath turned warm against my ear. He said with a soft chuckle, Junior, you better keep working hard. He had long forgotten the girl who sat crying on the steps that day. But that sentence, that same one, still had the power to make me feel different. He enjoyed seeing me lose composure. When he saw me deliberately lower my glass, his eyes widened in disbelief, and he shifted his arm away. I lowered my voice. Don't dodge, otherwise it won't look like we're just normal friends. In that instant, Kevin's expression turned sharp, his eyes tinged red. He stared at me coldly, voice strained and dry. Normal friends? Jessica, you think I'm just your normal friend? Juliet reached out to grab his hand. Kevin jerked away instantly, spilling his wine. Juliet looked devastated, eyes glistening with tears. I set my glass down. Sorry, I shouldn't be mislabeling my connection with Mr. Koo. We're not friends. We're just alumni. Don't want to ruin the mood, excuse me. Ignoring the stunned faces around me, I picked up my bag and walked out. Behind my footsteps, I heard someone rushing after me. Kevin caught up. When I turned around, his face was hollow, like he had something he desperately wanted to say. It's been a while since we've seen each other. His expression looked like he was remembering something sentimental. I couldn't help but mock. I used to send that line to you all the time, word for word. You're really lacking creativity. His face froze. You didn't even read them, did you? Kevin didn't deny it, and I knew I was right. When I was being clingy, I could send dozens of messages a day. He must have just found them annoying, cleared them all without a glance. I tried so hard to connect with him, to share my feelings, my daily life, but I never got a reply, not even a read receipt. Kevin tried to jump in. From now on, I didn't let him finish. There is no from now on. Stay away from me. Kevin stood there helplessly. I had stood like that too, many times, watching him walk away without the slightest hesitation. This time, he didn't follow, and I let out a breath of relief. I never wanted to see him again. Back home, I hadn't even fully settled in when I got a message from one of Kevin's friends. Sister-in-law, Kevin's drunk. He keeps saying he wants to see you. I had added Juliet on Instagram while filming, so I simply forwarded the message to her. Keep your dog on a leash. The next morning, they were all over the trending lists. Hashtag Kevin Juliet wedding bells soon hashtag. I clicked on a few similar posts. Netizens were ecstatic, claiming even their co-stars had confirmed it, especially after Juliet posted this on Instagram. You always said everything would have been different if I hadn't gone abroad. But I think all the twists and turns made us even more meant to be. If I hadn't left, what chances would anyone else have had? We've gotta leave some room for people, right? That emoji at the end started a new trending topic. Hashtag the goddess effect hashtag. Even on short video platforms, Clips of the two of them were everywhere, paired with sugary background music and overloaded with relationship goals vibes. By this point, netizens were practically begging for an official confirmation, as if their relationship was already set in stone. But one comment from Kevin turned the whole situation on its head. "We're clean. I'm not dating Juliet. I was helping her out of gratitude. Last night I was drunk and just wanted my fiancé to pick me up. The message wasn't meant for Juliet. Stop making things up. Those who manipulate public opinion are bound to be swallowed by it eventually." Kevin was. Juliet too. People began accusing Juliet of scheming her way into a wealthy family. Others slammed Kevin for not owning up to his actions. Some even came to my Instagram to apologize. A few netizens even speculated that the fiancé Kevin mentioned was me. Most of the comments called it fake news, which was perfect. I closed Instagram. Chapter 10. After the Instagram incident, fans of Juliet and Kevin went to war online. Juliet, seemingly trying to repair things with Kevin, had chased him down at his company multiple times. She stayed away from filming for a long stretch, triggering a wave of backlash from fans. Her fan club was in utter chaos. I didn't pay attention to any of it. Everything I knew came from Misty. With those two finally out of my way, I was able to throw myself completely into my career. I won several awards, gained both recognition and popularity. It wasn't a massive breakout, but at the very least, the road ahead had opened up 1,000-fold. Misty, rarely emotional, sighed with genuine feeling. Back then, gossip blogs kept comparing you to Juliet. Everyone thought you weren't good enough. Now, no one dares to put you two in the same frame. Congrats, you've officially become an actress known for her skill. I smiled, flipped another page of the script, and said to her, "That's because you told me acting is an actor's lifeline. I never forgot that. And I should thank you for never giving up on me." Now, I no longer took on random projects just to stay visible. I had the right to choose the right scripts. Misty tilted her head, glancing at the one in my hand, then said seriously, "You should thank yourself. The one who never gave up on you was you. This project looks solid. The director is." I smiled faintly. She was right. Thank you, Jessica, for always being so brave, so persistent. Misty still didn't know that Kevin and I had a past. She had no idea that he had waited outside my apartment night after night, and that I had never gone down to see him, not even once. I told him, "If you truly regret how you treated me, then stop showing up. That's the best apology you can give me. Love that arrives too late is worse than no love at all. It's harder to stomach, because it proves he could have done better." He knew exactly what I wanted, but back then, in his arrogance, he thought I couldn't live without him. He saw me as small, as dispensable, and that's why he did so many things that broke me. No matter how much you love someone, you should never allow yourself to be reduced to dust. Lowering yourself too far means you stop loving yourself. And if you don't love yourself, it's almost impossible to be loved by anyone else. The last time I saw him was in the hospital. Mrs. Koo had begged me to visit. I looked at him through the glass. Kevin lay on the hospital bed, pale-lipped and sickly. "I've seen him. I'm leaving." Mrs. Koo's hopeful expression fell. She clutched my hand, asking softly, "I know this is selfish of me to say, but is there truly no chance of starting over? You two have history. Kevin's just bad at expressing himself. Ever since you left, he's been drinking himself into stupors. This time, it got so bad he ended up with a gastric hemorrhage. I just couldn't stand it anymore. That's why I called you." I gently pulled my hand away. "Ma'am, with all due respect, you shouldn't be saying this. I never wronged Kevin, and I have every right to end this relationship. Please don't contact me again. It's easy to be misunderstood." Mrs. Koo stood frozen for a moment, then murmured, "I understand." Just as I was about to leave the hospital, I stopped and turned back, ran to her and gave her a hug. "Thank you for believing in me back then. I truly mean it. At the very beginning, no one believed in me. Everyone said I wasn't good enough for Kevin. I endured so many condescending stares and cutting words. But Mrs. Koo saw my sincerity before anyone else did. After that, she always had my back. She gave me a long stretch of peace. I could feel her kindness, deep in my heart. But the truth was, she was Kevin's mother. Our bond had always been through Kevin. It was Mrs. Koo who made our engagement happen. And after today, we would probably never meet again. I saw a glimmer in her eyes. In the end, she gently ruffled my hair and said, "You're a good girl. Kevin doesn't deserve you. It's his loss." I let go and smiled. I know. I turned around and waved to her. Because yes, I do know how good I am. I'm driven. I'm resilient. I'm independent. I think for myself. I'm someone incredibly worth loving. So if someone can't love me, that's not my fault. The road ahead is bright, and I won't let any man slow me down. I was never meant to be with Kevin. I was meant to be his rival. The next time I level up, my goal is to become capital myself. My original plan was to build my own entertainment company, and if that means I have to compete directly with Kevin in the market, so be it. I like my ambition. I learned a lot from Kevin, and I look forward to making my ambition real. Chapter Extra 1. People really are strange. Kevin once put Juliet on a pedestal, treated her like she was everything, while I was nothing. But after I left him, he became the one who couldn't let go. Juliet lingered around Kevin for a long time, refusing to give up. Eventually, maybe he got tired of her. She vanished from the spotlight not long after. During a break between shoots, I was chatting idly with Misty. She spoke in a tone of mixed surprise and sympathy. Who would have thought Juliet would fall this far? She used to shine so bright, now she's just doing background roles. She's proud and difficult. Offended a lot of people back then. Life's been rough. Especially for those she burned in the past, they hate her. I heard she's playing a maid in some historical fantasy drama. The second female lead keeps nitpicking and forcing retakes. She's been kneeling so much her knees are bruised black and blue. My fingers paused mid-scroll. After liking 3 sweet fan comments, I slowly looked up. Why do you always keep tabs on stuff like this? Pay more attention to me instead. Misty tapped me on the head in mock frustration. You really hold no grudges. Huh? I gave her a little smile. No need to. I wish I could split myself in two just to get everything done. I don't have the time or energy to care what happens to other people. The path to becoming capital is brutally hard. There are thousands, tens of thousands, trying to push through. Many of them are more hardworking, more talented, more brilliant than I am. But not all of them have my background or my resources. A top-tier university gave me elite networks. Running a successful startup before college gave me confidence. And during that year by Kevin's side, he never hid company matters from me. I learned so much. Maybe, in his eyes, I was just a clingy vine living off of him. So there was no need to keep secrets. My company was in its early stages, and I was working non-stop. Misty glanced left and right conspiratorially before leaning in. Did you and Kevin have a thing? He treats you differently. I lifted my eyes and looked across the room at Kevin. Lately, he had been hovering around me, never too close, never too far. Even the most oblivious person would have noticed something was off. We dated. Then we broke up. Don't know what kind of spell he's under now. Misty let out a small gasp but quickly collected herself. When was this? You even kept it from me? After I told her the whole story, she looked at me with a touch of heartache in her eyes. Don't you want people to see who they really are? After all the hate you took back then, I propped my chin on my hand and said slowly, if I did that, I'd be tying myself to Kevin and the stain of a relationship for the rest of my life. When people mentioned Jessica, instead of acknowledging my skill, they'd talk about that failed romance. I'm not interested. She's well-educated, just unlucky in love. She's accomplished, but her personal life is a mess. She's competent, but still unloved. The public loves to focus on a woman's love life. I don't need that kind of attention. You're gonna suffer for this mindset. Misty sighed. I patted her hand. This was my choice. I take full responsibility for whatever comes of it. But I'm not suffering. Look at me now. I'm doing great. The heartache in Misty's eyes only deepened. She reached out and gently ruffled my hair. Chapter Extra 2. It's funny how people are. Kevin once held Juliet up so high, treated her like she was irreplaceable, while I was just dispensable. But after I left, he became the one who couldn't let go. Juliet stuck around Kevin for a long time. refusing to fade away. Eventually, she must have gotten on his nerves. She disappeared for quite a while. On a Sunday, I was invited to join a street interview variety show. Holding the map the crew had given me, I followed the route. When I pushed open the door to a coffee shop, I came face to face with someone I never wanted to see again. The moment Kevin saw me, his eyes lit up like a switch had been flipped. I stared back coldly. Behind me, a trailing cameraman whispered, "Jessica," a gentle reminder. "Can I switch partners?" I asked. The director scrambled over. Confused, he couldn't understand why someone as professional as me would suddenly look so off. Kevin stood up and walked toward me quickly. "I'm sorry for all the things I did to hurt you before. I just wanted a chance to make it right. Do you like humiliating yourself or something?" His face turned pale, helpless. "No. I know I was wrong. You loved me, and I love you too. Can't we start over? We were together for over a year, weren't we happy then?" I stepped back 2 paces. "Mr. Koo, you're really committed to the act." "Huh? We're just alumni. No need to keep this scene going." Kevin stared at me, his eyes starting to redden. "Why are you erasing everything between us? We were engaged. We were in love. We had over a year of good memories." I couldn't help but laugh, bitterly, mockingly. 8 years. It was 8 years, for me. Kevin froze. He looked like he didn't understand. His voice came out dry. "What?" But there was no smile on my face. When you really want to win, there's no room for smiling. 8 years. In high school, I didn't relax for a single day, terrified that letting up for even a second would mean falling behind. In college, I spent 4 years carefully crafting my way toward meeting you, strategizing like a game character unlocking stages, befriending your friends just to get closer. I didn't dare slacken my studies either, and I ran my own studio at the same time. While others were resting, I was writing business plans, analyzing case studies, leading meetings. After graduation, I entered the entertainment industry and, through sheer coincidence, met Mrs. Koo. She saw through me, knew I liked you, and arranged the engagement. What you saw as mundane, ordinary days were miles I walked to reach you. You thought it was pleasant? It was because I bent over backwards to make you comfortable. With each sentence, the panic in his eyes deepened. Why didn't you ever tell me this? Why should I have told you? My love was never meant to be a burden. Now, the only reason I can say all of this is because I don't feel anything anymore. Not even affection, just disgust. I already told you, stop bothering me. What? You think doing this show together will guilt me into coming back? Kevin's face went ghost white. His expression was desperate. That's not it. I didn't want to pressure you. He reached out to grab my hand. I yanked it back instantly. His hand hung in the air as a silent tear fell from his eye and hit the ground. I looked at that drop of water, and almost laughed. Kevin, you're really something. When someone loved you, you didn't want them. Now that they've walked away, suddenly you're clinging to them like a lost puppy. When your mother proposed our engagement, why didn't you say no? When we were together, why didn't you say you didn't like me? Did I ever cling to you shamelessly? Did I ever make you uncomfortable? I stayed within the safe zone every time, never crossed lines, never said inappropriate things, never made unwanted moves. The moment I sensed that my feelings might be a burden to you, I pulled back. Even after we broke up, I never used you for clout, never played the sympathy card to win public favor. I treated you with all the dignity I had. Yes, there were times when my emotions got the better of me, when I couldn't help but show kindness, to long for a hug from you, but that was only after you agreed to the engagement. Why didn't you object from the beginning? Why didn't you say anything along the way? I guessed and second-guessed everything. Did you like me? Were you starting to fall for me? Did we have a chance? I drove myself mad with the guessing, until Juliet showed up. And I suddenly realized I didn't love myself anymore. How could I not love myself? How could I let myself become so small? That was the moment I decided to leave. A single instant, built on a mountain of disappointments. What Kevin thought was a year was actually the 8 most honest years of love I'd ever lived. Each day, I treated like a reward for the younger me who had dared to dream. The person you can't have in youth becomes the hardest to forget. But once I'd actually been with him, the obsession disappeared. He didn't deserve my love. What I loved was Kevin at 17. That radiant, unshakable boy who once stood before the whole school and said, "I'm grateful for a world where no one asks where heroes come from, because it gave me the chance to stand here today." What I loved was the upperclassman who found me crying on the stairs because I couldn't solve a math problem, and told me, "Keep going, Junior." In my youth, he was unbeatable. Not even he could surpass who he once was. The person standing in front of me now, and the boy I fell for back then, they're not the same man anymore. Chapter Extra 3. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Kevin kept apologizing, his voice trembling. No need to apologize. I've learned a lot from you too. If you really want to make amends, then stop showing up in my life. Seriously, the more you do this, the more disgusting it feels. I caught a glimpse of his fingers trembling. He pleaded softly, "Don't say that. Please, please. I'm begging you." "Then let me beg you, don't ever appear in front of me again." I didn't look at him again. I turned to the director next to me and said, "Sorry. This episode can't be aired. We'll reshoot it later. I'll work with whatever schedule you need." Kevin stood frozen, hands trembling as he covered his face. Looked like he was crying. Pathetic. I didn't even cry. And now because of this I'd lose my vacation time to reshoot. The director looked terrified, sneaking a glance at Kevin Koo. This episode was requested by Mr. Koo. He paused, swallowed hard, and continued. "It's live streaming." My mind went completely blank. Like a loud buzz just exploded in my head. When I got home, I opened my phone. Hashtag Kevin Jessica. Hashtag Kevin we were engaged. Hashtag 8 years, it was 8 years. Hashtag what's your biggest regret? Hashtag Juliet. The trending topics were completely dominated by that broadcast. I silently scrolled through the comments. I knew it. I always knew Jessica wasn't that kind of person. The Jessica I love is amazing, powerful, and just so damn likable. I love you so much. Ugh. God, when Jessica said it had been 8 years, even as someone who wasn't a fan, my heart cracked. Babe, screw gender norms. I'm a woman too, young, rich, pretty, kind. I text back fast. Eat all day. Shower in 5 minutes. Look at me, please. I used to defend Juliet and even call Jessica AB*TCH. I wish I could time travel and slap myself. Never jumping into drama blindly again. Some people are so dumb. Are you deaf or just brain dead? She literally said she never clung to him or made a scene. She just loved someone for 8 years. She worked hard for 8 years. And y'all think that's something to mock? What kind of person feels proud tearing down a woman for loving someone? Watched that clip and it hit me hard. I had a crush on a brilliant guy in school too. He probably doesn't even remember me. Kind of funny. Really, I'm in my 30s now and still remember. That kind of young love really sticks. Y'all are obsessed with her love life, but am I the only one who's amazed by how badass she is? She goes all in when she wants something. She loved fearlessly. And when it was over, she let go cleanly. She never used her pain for pity. Her inner strength must be insane. Following my Thursday routine, I posted a new update on Instagram, then turned off my phone. It was time to focus on pushing forward with my company's next project. The salary and benefits I offered were among the most competitive in the entire industry. So we attracted some outstanding talent. There had been a few bumps along the way, but overall, things were going smoothly. This next project would put me head to head with Kevin. I knew him well, but he didn't know me, didn't even realize the person currently fighting him for resources was me. Not that I was hiding it on purpose. It's just part of business. When your company is growing, it's almost impossible to avoid. Chapter Extra 4. 3 years later, I had basically swept up every major acting award, both domestic and international. Among all the talented actors I'd worked with, there wasn't a single one I couldn't poach, only those I wasn't interested in. My company had grown at lightning speed, and our pursuit of artistic credibility had become a benchmark in the industry. Because we proved that critical acclaim and commercial success weren't mutually exclusive, I made sure to honor the line Misty once told me. Acting is an actor's lifeblood. Carving out a market was a tug of war. There were failures in the beginning, of course, But I adjusted in time and salvaged most of the damage. Maybe he was cornered too hard, or maybe it was the bitter realization that he'd lost to me. Kevin began acting completely out of character. Rushed decisions, reckless strategies. One poor call after another led to huge losses for his company. The very day the board voted him out unanimously. He showed up outside my office. "Does this make you happy now?" I looked at him, confused. "If your brain's broken, please seek help." My disgust for him only grew with time, because no matter what I achieved, people always had to mention him. And worse, always with that smug seen-it-all tone. I used to think it didn't matter who I married. So when my mom asked if you were okay, I said yes. Later, I realized, I think I did like you. Back then. I'm sorry. It wasn't until you left that I started to understand how I really felt. I thought you'd never leave. I sighed and gave a wry smile. "It's fine." I gave Misty a look. She instantly understood. After a quick phone call, Juliet came rushing in. The moment she spotted Kevin, she ran toward us. "She treats you like crap. Why do you still like her? She's just a damn simp. You even suppressed me for her. Am I not good enough? Don't I love you enough?" Even when people called me a homewrecker, I swallowed it. "You two really want to have this conversation here?" I looked at them leisurely. By now, several colleagues were already watching. Kevin's expression turned to ice. Juliet looked nervous but still tried to pull him away. "Don't touch me. How can you treat me like this? Back then, when I wanted to study abroad, you covered all my expenses without hesitation. And after I came back, I didn't want to watch their drama anymore. I called security and had them removed." Kevin stared at me in disbelief, his face a twisted mix of humiliation and pain. But I knew what was hurting him. It was realizing that everything he thought he had was now mine, and better. He'd once stood at the pinnacle of power, believing it would keep me coming back. He was confident, too confident. But tides change. And me? I didn't feel a shred of affection for him anymore. As the two of them were escorted out, Misty walked over and sighed. Honestly, what was Juliet thinking? If she wanted something, she should have just asked for money and left. I've heard she's been trying to get Kevin's help again, like in the old days. She didn't even ask questions when I called. She just came running. Too bad Kevin's in no position to help anyone now. I tugged Misty's hand. "Enough gossip. We've got a batch of new talent. Come check them out with me?" Misty gave a nod, pulling her attention away. "All right. Let's go." I don't remember exactly when, but Misty later told me the two of them had gotten so tangled up that Juliet ended up pregnant. Kevin tried to force her into an abortion. She refused. They fought in public. Mrs. Koo had to step in and make Kevin take responsibility for what he'd done. Juliet had quit working altogether, but her spending hadn't changed. She cared about appearances, still insisted on custom designer pieces each season. Every time the paparazzi snapped her, she'd be proudly flaunting her baby bump like it was a crown. Soon enough, she drained Kevin financially. His stomach condition worsened. She didn't care. She kept nagging him to go earn more money. They fought constantly. When Kevin couldn't give her enough, Juliet started taking out loans. She thought she'd be able to pay them back eventually. But it snowballed, robbing Peter to pay Paul, until it became a number they could no longer handle. The next time I saw the two of them, I didn't even recognize them. They looked like they'd been wrung out by life itself. Every line on their faces etched in hardship. Kevin shrank when he saw me. He muttered under his breath, "It's been a while. I have stomach cancer now. Probably don't have much time left. I guess this is my karma." He forced a bitter smile. I looked at him, feeling a little pity. I'm too kind-hearted to hear stuff like that. He looked up sharply, eyes full of hope. "Misty, please have them removed." I turned to her calmly. "This interview set is our space. We paid for it. I really don't have the bandwidth for this drama today." Juliet's face contorted. She lunged at Kevin. "This is all your fault. You're so embarrassing." "I'm embarrassing? You drugged me, used me, lived off me, and now I'm the disgrace?" Misty signaled for staff to escort them out. I didn't look back. Moments later, the production team arrived, and my interview began. The host asked the one question I knew would come. A lot of netizens are curious. Jessica, how do you view the pain from that past relationship? When you realized you weren't the one chosen, wasn't that hard? Is that why there's been no new romance since? Is it fear? I thought about it, then asked something that had long troubled me. Why do people always want to cast me as the victim? It's not that I wasn't chosen, I just made the wrong choice. But that doesn't stop me from being a great actress. It doesn't stop my company from thriving. I've lost more than a point on a test before, and I still got into Tsinghua. Isn't making mistakes a normal part of life? It's not that I'm afraid of love. I just haven't met someone I want to love yet. Why cry over a lost point when I've already scored nearly 700 others? The host realized the question had been clumsy and quickly changed the subject with an awkward laugh. So, what are your plans for the future? Could you share a bit with us? I thought about it, then replied honestly. I just want to do things I enjoy. Maybe tomorrow you'll find me picking up trash on the street, who knows? As long as I keep walking forward without fear, that's enough for me. That's how Jessica answers to herself. Chapter Extra 5, October 9th, 2023. A friend of mine who was studying in France suddenly messaged me. Eager is shutting down. She and I had been close when we were younger. But time and distance had thinned our connection over the years. Still, those few words landed like a soft thud against my chest. I felt a bit dazed. I knew that magazine Eager was her absolute favorite during her teenage years. I remembered how it was once confiscated by a teacher, and how she'd storm around ranting about it afterward. Furious. I had never read the magazine myself, but I knew it was a snapshot of her youth, something sacred. It felt like just yesterday. She was walking beside me, fuming as she said, I was reading it during break, and he just snatched it from me. I hate him. I looked at her that day and quietly smiled. Back then, neither of us realized that might be the last time we'd ever see each other. Just like I hadn't known that the man I chased for 8 years would exit my life in such an undignified way. That look, that one glance, ended up being the last. I replied to her, youth really is fleeting. Later that evening, she asked me, can we meet up sometime? I really miss you. I said, you pick the date. I'll fly over to see you. That was something my 16-year-old self could never have promised. But 26-year-old me could easily. 16 was beautiful, but I love being 26. I'm no longer lost, no longer yearning for the things I lack. I'm already whole, and I love myself so much.